Welcome. Today, we're diving into your very first chess lesson. And by the time we're done here, you are going to know exactly how to command every single piece in your army. So let's get right to it.
Think of this less like a rule book and more like an introduction to your team. See? Each one of these pieces, they've got their own personality, their own special job on the battlefield. And your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to learn how to lead them.
So, where do we start? Well, we're going to start with the most straightforward soldiers on the board. Literally, these are the ones that move in straight lines. If you can get these down, you'll have an awesome foundation for the whole game. First up, let's meet the rook. You might know this one as the castle. The best way to think about the rook is like your army's battering ram. It's powerful, it's direct, and it gets straight to the point. Okay, so how does it move? Easy. In straight lines, forward, backward, left, or right, for as many empty squares as it wants to go. And get this, capturing is just as simple. It takes out an enemy piece the exact same way it moves, by landing right on its square. Next, we have the bishop. Now, if the rook is a battering ram, think of the bishop as a swift arrow, just zipping across the board on those slanted diagonal lines. The bishop moves diagonally, but, and this is a big one, it has one key limitation. It's color-bound. That means a bishop that starts on a light square will only ever be on light squares for the entire game. Same goes for a dark square bishop. And just like our friend the rook, it captures an enemy piece simply by moving onto its square. Okay, so you've mastered the straight lines of the rook and the slanted lines of the bishop. Now, what do you think happens when you combine those two powers into one absolutely incredible super piece? Well, you get the queen. Yup, this is the boss. She is, without a doubt, the single most powerful piece in your army. And her strength comes from this incredible freedom of movement. It's why she's worth so much. To put it in perspective, she's worth about 9 points, while a little pawn is only worth 1. And here's the secret to remembering how she moves. It's really this simple. The queen's power is just the power of a rook plus the power of a bishop all rolled into one. If you can remember that, you'll never forget what she can do. Let's break that down. She can slide in straight lines just like a rook, and she can glide along the diagonals just like a bishop. In any of those 8 directions, she can go as far as she wants. And you guessed it, she captures just by landing on an enemy's square. All right, you've met the heavy hitters. Now it's time for the specialists, the tricky pieces. They don't move in nice, neat, straight lines, which can be a little confusing at first, but trust me, once you get them down, they are incredibly powerful. First up is the knight, the horse. The absolute best way to picture this piece is as a jumping horse. It doesn't run through the lines, no, it leaps over the crowd, landing in all sorts of unexpected and often devastating spots. Its movement is a classic L shape. The easiest way to remember it is in 2 simple steps. You move 2 squares in any straight direction, so forward, backward, left, or right, and then you take 1 sharp turn to the side. 2 forward, 1 left. 2 down, 1 right. See? It always makes that L shape. Now here is the knight's superpower, and it's a big deal. It is the only piece in the entire game that can jump over other pieces, whether they're your own or the enemy's. It just hops from its starting square to its landing square, completely ignoring anything and everything in between. Our next specialist is the pawn. Think of these as your little scouts. They might seem simple, but they have a very, very peculiar rule. This analogy of a scout with a spear is perfect, because they walk straight forward, but they attack to the side. So a pawn moves straight forward, just 1 square at a time. The only exception, on its very first move, it gets the choice to move either 1 or 2 squares forward. But, and here's the tricky part, it does not capture that way. To capture, it attacks 1 square diagonally forward. That means if an enemy piece is sitting right in front of it, the pawn is completely blocked. We have saved the most important piece for last. Now, his movement is actually super simple, but his safety is the entire point of the game. So let's meet the leader of your army. The king is your commander-in-chief. He doesn't move far or fast. He's not a frontline warrior like the queen. His value isn't in his power, it's in his survival. Protecting this guy is your #1 job, always. The king's move is as simple as it gets, 1 single step in any direction he wants, and he captures the same way. but here it is, the golden rule of chess, the one rule you can never, ever break. You cannot move your king onto a square where the enemy could capture him. He must always, always be kept safe.
Okay, you've officially met the whole army. But knowing the rules is one thing. Putting them into practice is everything. So let's run a few super quick drills just to lock this all in. I'll ask the question, you think of the answer. Ready?
First mission. A rook sees a pawn in its path. Can it capture? Yep, it attacks in a straight line. Second, a bishop sees a pawn on its diagonal. Can it capture? You bet, it moves and attacks diagonally. How about the knight? Can it land on that pawn with its L-shaped jump? Absolutely. And last one, the pawn. It's blocked from moving forward, but there's an enemy piece one square diagonally. Can it capture? Yes, that's the only way it attacks. And just like that, you did it. You now have the foundational knowledge to play chess. You know how every single piece moves, from the tiny pawn all the way up to the mighty queen. That is a huge first step, so congratulations. But of course, knowing how all the pieces move is really only half the story. The real question is, what are you trying to do with all these moves? What's the actual goal of the game? Well, we'll cover that in our next explainer.